All right, good evening and welcome to the Immersive Experience, a podcast about you, for you, from you. I'm your guide, Desi Lou, and today we talk about healing the father wound with Chels J. She is a voice for the voiceless. This is what she has told me, and she does an amazing job at it. If you haven't added her on Facebook or anything like that, hey, Chelsea, after this you could just add your Facebook and everything down there, and places where they can follow you and different things like that.
Well, thank
So
you so much for having me on. So first things first, um, I got a little cold, but I was not going to let that keep me from coming on. So as Desiree Lou mentioned, we are definitely talking about the father wound. What is it? How it looks, how it affects your relationship, and how to heal it.
okay. I'm really interested in this because I was telling somebody about this. We were talking on the phone, and I was telling them, I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about healing the father wound." And he had asked me, he was like, "What's it about? Girls with daddy issues?"
And it's so much deeper than that. But most people just look at it as like daddy issues, and they think that when a woman or a girl has daddy issues or father issues, that means that they're running from like man to man, jumping in bed with everybody, and that's not necessarily it. So I wanted to, kind of clear it up, talk about how it looked for me, what it's looked like for me, how I allowed them to control me for a very long time, and how I'm finally starting to heal from that. So I'm glad that you was talking about it with somebody.
Oh yes, of course. I'm all for, you know, putting a word out there, letting people know what I'll be talking about. I like to let them know that my podcast is a self development, and I mean in every form of the word, because I don't think that you can get through something without truly knowing yourself first.
Oh yes,
I
yes.
think we go
Oh,
through a lot of things where we just allow people to touch us because we're trying to figure out how we need to be loved when we already know what we need. So but we just go through the motions most of the time. So,
that's it. That's exactly how it seems like we do.
yeah.
Because I know
So,
I definitely have.
yeah, we all have. I mean, in some form of fashion, we all have. I think we just differentiate the things because of how life happens. We differentiate it based off the experiences that we have. So we don't understand that. Well, like they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat, correct? So,
That's what
or
they say now. Now
I
you
don't know
might
what the
also hear
proper
my
way
kids
is.
because they just got home. So just look, just a heads up for the people that's tuned in. You might hear my children. They are supposed to stay quiet, but life don't quite go as you plan it sometimes.
Okay. But yeah. All right, so healing the father wound. Tell us about what that's about.
Okay. Um, I didn't. Me and my dad don't have a relationship like at all. Like since the time that I was born, he's never really been, a father. He's just been kind of like a pop in, pop out type of guy. Um, I got tired of holding space, trying to prove myself that I was worthy of being loved to my dad. And I think generationally, we all have that wound that needs to be healed, as for the mother and the father wound, honestly. But I wanted to especially touch on the father wound because I mean we're in the month of Father's Day. There may be somebody else who's out there going through the same thing and don't really know how to kind of navigate through that.
Mhm. But can I ask you, how do you believe that your father wound showed up?
My father one definitely showed up. Well, when I started taking note of it, in my
Hmm.
relationship with my partner, I became very codependent. I never really wanted a relationship. I would always try to be the one doing the hurting to
Okay.
avoid being hurt. Um, I wouldn't dare be caught in a relationship, like not a committed relationship. Like we can be friends and um, mess around, but I didn't want any real emotional attachment. And before a person tried to get to know me too well, I'd be out. Like I don't want the emotional connection like at all. I've always had some issues with like authority figures. men, and at one point in time, I resented men. I didn't want a boyfriend. I didn't want a partner. Just wanted somebody that I didn't have to get to know. And most guys are kind of closed off, so it worked out perfectly for a really long time.
Mm.
uh, yeah. It
When
was
do you think that when do you think that you had to start when you started opening yourself back up?
um uh it's kind of hard. Dance. Oh my goodness. I've been with my partner for a little over 10 years, and I'm gonna say a couple of years ago, maybe like three. Even though we were in a relationship, like we have a child together and everything, a lot of the things didn't really start hitting me until maybe like 3 years ago that I was just kind of falling into a loop of, you know what I'm saying, like repeated behaviors. And like I didn't want to stay in a commitment at all. Like I was ready to get out.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's how it went.
So how did you correlate the pattern of, okay, because my daddy was or because my daddy wasn't, that this is was how this is playing out in my relationship?
Once I got onto my journey of like self awareness, um, and I took a course, and one of the things that the lady talked about was kind of like relationships.
Hmm.
And I'm a Libra, so Libras are all about balance and just and fairness in our relationships and in any relationships, whether they're platonic or not. And she talked about, she hinted at the father wound. So I like to research. So I ended up looking into it, and I was like, what the? And it was like a slap in the face. So when I started doing like those inner child healing exercises and different techniques and coping mechanisms and things like that. And one of the inner child healings was like the mother wound, the father wound, like abandonment, neglect, betrayal, and all those things.
Hmm.
And I focused in on the father wound because I had started taking some astrology lessons. And one of the things that we discussed, like with your sun sign, is that it's connected to your father. And one of my greatest fears is betrayal. And the guy who was doing my chart reading for me was like, "Who do you think has betrayed you?" I was like, "My parents, especially my father." And he was like, "How's your relationship with your partner?" He's like, "Are you in a relationship? Are you single?" I was like, "I'm in a relationship." He was like, what? He was like, "Let's look a little bit deeper into your chart." And we looked into my chart a little bit deeper, and it just kept coming up about like the absent father, how it plays a role in like my excuse me, how it plays a role in like my relationship with like other people. And actually, I sat back and I thought about that, and I started taking notes. So that was my inner work for me. My Venus is in the eighth house, and it just again correlates with having issues with the father, authority figures, being kind of closed off, not really knowing how to tend to those emotions or how to express my emotions. My dad is like a very emotionally unavailable person. And normally I would find myself being attracted to emotionally unavailable guys, or I would be the emotionally unavailable partner.
Hmm. When do you think that you were able to understand that a lot of things that you were dealing with stemmed from, it was that the person who helped you understand that a lot of things that you deal with in your relationships stemmed from your father, and he did it through astrology? Is that correct?
I did. But before I studied astrology, now, like I said, we've never really had a father-daughter relationship. And I think one of the most special bonds is between a daughter and a father. They're usually protective, loving, respectful, supportive. And the dad normally kind of influences the choices, or inspires the choices that his daughter makes as far as like her job, her partner. But I never really had that. So I just for a long time I didn't want to have a relationship because if the man who was supposed to be there for me wasn't there, like why would somebody else want to stick around? It was the attitude I had. Um, I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
I think that I could tell you this because for me, my mom was one who pushed the relationship with my dad, and I was kind of like the child that was always like, "Girl, if he wanted to talk to me, he'll call me." Like I have always been that person. Like
Man,
I am that person to the core of me. Like you made me. I learned at an early age that we are not our parents' choices, right? So and
I'm glad you learned it early because I
I
definitely learned it
did
late.
like I even wrote. I was talking to my mama the other day, and I was telling her. I said, I remember writing my dad a letter, and I let him know, like, man, I could never love you the way that I love my mama. Like, I don't know you. I know nothing about you. I don't know if you're dumb, if you're smart, if you have some type of wisdom to you. I have no inkling on who you are, and
Right?
don't.
And that's what my identity crisis was too, because like, I know my mom's people like um really well, and I know nothing about my father's people. And I can remember in middle school, like I knew some of my cousins from his side of the family, and they'd be like, "Oh, we had a family reunion over the weekend," and I was like, "Well, damn, ain't nobody told me nothing." It seems like he would do everything in his power to, you know what I'm saying, avoid me at all costs. Like
Mm.
he has a really great relationship with the rest of his kids, but me and him, oh no. It's almost like he's afraid to be in the same space with me. Like he don't feel comfortable in the same space, and we just don't. I don't know if it's because we're so similar, or maybe because I'm not a yes man type of kid, or. But his wife would usually call and she'd be like, "Oh, your dad said happy birthday." And then after a while, I started asking her, "Well, where in the hell is he? If he's out, like, do you wait until he's gone away from home for you to tell me that he said happy birthday or Merry Christmas or whatever the holiday may have been?" Because that's normally when he would call. When I would go visit, he would never really be there. He'd be out in the woods. By the time he come in, he's taking a shower, he get ready to head to work. There's never really been like, any conversation. And I came across a quote. Ooh, I'm sorry, my nose stopped it. I came across a quote. It says, "No one in this world can love a girl more than her father." And that may be true for some people, but for me, with the absent father, I was like, well, what about us with the absent dad? Like, do we not deserve love? I mean, who's gonna love us? And I guess ourselves. I guess we have to love ourselves, because I really had to start using it as a lesson, and not
Yeah.
allow for it to just be that controlling factor. And it took me a long time because I've given up on trying to have a relationship with my dad for the longest of time.
I
But
think
this time I finally stuck with it.
I think that a lot of times I see a lot of people who want to rekindle their relationships with their fathers, and I feel like a lot of times we go into it. I say all the time on my on this podcast here that expectations are the root of all heartbreak, and we go into a lot of things with the expectation of you were my dad, you haven't done, so basically you owe me everything. And I just want like a lot of women to understand, like if you are trying to rekindle a relationship with your father, start where you are. Start
Yes,
as the person that you are. Start as the woman that you are. Learn. You're gonna have to learn me backwards at this point because I need to see how you float. Because what I understand is that the pattern is you is one day you might be here and the next day you might not be here. And I need to protect me because I wasn't able to protect the little girl that I was when you did it. But I won't fall victim to your bullshit again, sir.
yeah, but
Okay,
try me
so
now, goddamn it, that I got
let
some
me
help. Please try me now that I got some boundaries.
you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like you got to learn to float in a relationship of whatever that you're creating. And this is with the father, with your mother, with
Yes.
wherever you are at any point in your life in a relationship. I think that we try to apply a lot of textbook things to our
Ooh, and
to our
it don't look like what they say you. It look
you
like.
know what I'm saying? It never
Because
looks like
apparently,
that.
some people have their father that they don't think they have a father wound because they say, "Oh, well, my dad was, in the house." Okay, he was in the house, but was he an active father?
Yeah.
And you also have some people who will go, "Well, my dad was active. He showed up to all of my events, all of my this, that, and the other, and the third. But then he didn't. Well, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. He didn't really show any love. So
Hmm.
it looks different different people, and I want for people to understand that it's not all. Oh, my dad was just out of the picture, or
Yeah.
he wasn't an active part. So it looks different for different people, and I wanted to. It showed up in my relationships, and once I was kind of to the point where I was like, I want something more. I want something different. I
Yeah.
don't want the same thing over and over again happening.
Yeah, I think, and that's just a decree to getting to understand the patterns of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Understanding where I tell people all the time, like you can only be a victim one time. So if it's a point in your life where you
Listen.
were manipulated at one point in your life, this is when you were initially the victim. So if it
And
was
it
from
was
a
a cycle, not the life sentence. And
yes,
it took me a while to learn it. So
yeah,
I'm not bashing, I'm not fussing, I'm not
I'm
griping.
not either. I'm not either
I just
because
want
we
people.
come into
You have
our
to do
own
it at your own
understanding.
pace. I'm sorry, what happened, Daisy?
I said we all got to come into our own understanding. We walk
Listen,
different walks, we talk different talks, so we're gonna get there how we get there. If you ever even get there, because if you don't know you do, it's fine by me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
it was. They got it's a definition that they have. And I feel like, of course, like you just said, it's kind of textbook. It was like a father wound is a trauma wound that comes from an absent father. And I was like, well, I was talking to some people when I decided to do this because at first I initially wanted to do it as like a healing segment,
uh-huh.
kind of like where we could kind of just talk about it, you know what I'm saying? And under the next full moon, we would just be able to kind of banish that energy, you know what I'm saying? Get them time to write that letter because that's what I had to do. I wrote that letter because I got tired of saying I don't want to keep trying to continue this relationship. And every time I saw him, it was like I was just like, okay, this is my dad. Let me give him a hug. Let me show him some love. But
Yeah,
I'm not getting the same thing in reciprocation. Like I'm not receiving that back.
right. And
So
that's
it took a while.
what, and I can see how you can correlate that to being in a relationship because if I allowed the man who was supposed to be the most important, the most revered, the most respected to just step over me like that and keep trying to continue a relationship. I often think of a story that a lady had told me when I hear people talking about the relationships that they're trying to connect with their dad with, because she had told me, essentially, she said to me, she was like, my mom always thought, she was like, why are you always so sweet on your dad? Like, he wasn't there. I was there for you. You only gave me hell. And she was kind of like, basically, because I know you already. And I really want a relationship with my daddy. And that's something that I never had. And I often think about how it is when we think about how we want men in our lives, where we'll say, like, okay, like, I want him to like me, but then we'll refuse to do the things that he wants for
Oh,
him to like us. Like, do you really want him in your life, or is it just that you like the ideal of him? You get what I'm saying? How much trauma are you putting on yourself trying to be something that you are not, trying to gain a relationship with a person who could care less about getting to know you?
oh, speak, yes, because when I started saying it, I would get, I would get agitated with other people. Oh, I
Like,
can't laugh, but I would get so agitated with other people when when they be like, "Well, my daddy done did this and this," and I be like, "Baby, just f him."
yeah, I feel
Because
like that
once
a
I
lot of
cut the
times.
cord with mine, I was encouraging other people to do the same.
Yeah. I feel like that though. I stopped telling people. I stopped telling people to leave people. I stopped telling people to fuck them. I just really, I can only speak for myself because I feel like when you get tired, what Ayana said one time, she said it don't hurt enough. So when it hurt enough, you'll be ready to leave it alone. You'll be ready to walk
Ooh,
away
it,
from it.
and you know what? That's some truth if I ever heard of any because just personally now, this is from my personal experience. When my dad would be my brother used to stay around the corner from me.
Mhm.
And I mean in the same neighborhood, like just literally right around the corner. My dad would go see my brother and so I had called him one day. I was like, "Hey, did you just leave him out there?" And he was like, and he knew he couldn't lie because, dude, I mean, I stayed right around the corner. And he was like, "Well, yeah, I did, He was like, but I'll be back tomorrow. Okay, so at this point, I'm homeschooling my children. I'm unemployed, so I'm at home all day, every day. He was like, well, I came around there and knocked on the door. I was like, well, what time? He was like, oh yeah, I came. He never did give me a time, but that statement about Ayana, what she said about it don't hurt enough, he would always,
Mhm.
when we get in front of a group of people, that's when he wanted to, you know what I'm saying, bring up those accomplishments. Oh, she's so smart. She's very knowledgeable about this, and this. She could have been a doctor, could have been a lawyer, could have been this, could have been that. And I'm like, this dude is still on this dang on childhood dream that I had when I was like 7. Like I no
Yeah.
longer want to be a lawyer at 32. Like get over it already, dude. It's over for that lawyer thing. Like I no longer have that passion to be a lawyer. So just let me do this and be happy. And so I was asking him one day, I was like, and this is kind of where I guess it hurt and it was enough. uh, he asked me, he was like, so I had told you about the job. He was like, they pay $18 an hour, 12 hours a day. I don't have a great support system, so sometimes it's just me and my partner, and when he's at work, it's just me. So I was like, who the heck's supposed to get these kids for these 12 hours? I don't have to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to go to work for 12 hours a day. And $18 might sound like a lot of money, but when you think about all the heavy lifting that you got to do, baby, by the time I'm 40, my back is gonna be non-existent. So
Right.
no, I was telling him that I didn't want to do that, and so I was like, hey, I got a question for you. Feel free to, think on it, ponder on it. But you think I'm so good at what I do? How about you give me that $18 an hour and let me be at home, and that way they can be my startup. You know what I'm saying? My startup money. He was like,
Hmm.
well, yeah, that sounds good. And he was like, okay. He was like, I'll give you a call. I called him a couple of weeks later. He didn't answer, and he never called me back.
Hmm.
At that point, I was like, okay, you just do this in front of other people because it sounds good and it makes you look like you're actually a great dad. Like you're not doing this to hype me up or to, you know what I'm saying, give me any validation. You're doing this for your own selfish reasons. You're doing
Right.
this because you want to feel good. You want people to look at you like you're a great father, but when it's behind closed doors and it's just me and you're not standing true on it. And so that was kind of my drawing line. And it may sound a little selfish, but I mean, there's so much more that has happened. You know what I'm saying? That led up to that point where I was kind of like, yeah, this definitely has to be it. Because like you're not holding the same type of space that I'm holding for you.
Right.
Now, when I
I
got
think
ready, go ahead.
what oh, I was gonna say, what were you about to say?
It was just go ahead and drink it. Skedaddle. I'm on the phone. She's standing here looking at me drinking soda.
But I think it's just a testament to really how we conduct ourselves. If we want to see ourselves in a certain way, what are the things that we know that we're tolerating? Instead of being able to actually celebrate that person, I now have to tolerate this because I want to be around you. And I feel like that's kind of it's counterintuitive because it dims our light it dims our light. Not in a
Oh
way,
yeah,
it dims
very
our
much
light.
so.
Yeah,
Let
so
me find what I was reading. It was, oh my goodness, it was a lot. It really had me thinking. Let me see if I can find it in my little notes real quick. Can you bring my pop top? Let me see if I can find it real fast. I got it in my notes. Oh man, I don't want to spend too much time, but I know I got it. I thought I had pulled it up.
you could paraphrase it if you got it.
See, I want to paraphrase, but I want to make sure it was the right Look, I don't want to be paraphrasing the wrong thing, and I be like, that ain't what I was supposed to be
I
saying.
feel you
So
because I got a poem called Paraphrased, and I know.
skip it for written in. I can't
Yeah.
find it, but it was really good. It was in my astrology chart, and I wanted to share it so maybe people who look into them could see what it say about them and theirs. But
Right.
it was it was a lot. That's what was calling me.
I feel that. I think that I really do think that it's a lot of us who have a father wound. I really will say that I noticed mine very very early because of the things that I was interested in and the things that I was doing. One of the things that stuck out to me was that my dad was able to raise an entire family and neglected his blood. So for me, that was something that I had to come to terms with that. I had to cross over that because it had me stuck for a while. Like, God dang, like nigga, I'm you. So like, what you mean?
It's crazy now, especially watching him raise, other children or be
Yeah.
involved with other children and act as if you don't exist or. So it hurt for a real long time now.
Yeah. I ain't gonna say like I said at the age of I had to be at least 16, 17. I wrote him a letter and I let him know like I said, I never love you like I love my mama. You weren't never there for me. You went off, you raised a whole nother family. I mean, I put this in this note, I sent it to this man. Like I have always been a person that like I'm standing on mine, like I'm standing up for
Did
myself.
he
Like
ever
my mama.
respond, David?
Huh?
Did he ever respond?
Yeah, he did. He was like, I understand, baby. He real. He was always like a real lay down type of person about the situation. You know what I'm saying? So it made it easier for me to kind of lay down about the situation too. Like it's like, okay, if you're not putting no energy into it, then I'm not putting no energy into it. And see, when people say they gonna match energy, the only thing you matching is the non-energy that they not putting into it in the first place. I'm like,
Right. What?
I'm
Well,
matching energy. You not showing up for me. I'm not finna show up for you. So period. Like I'm done. Let's part ways. And that's really what that energy match should be. It should be the end of something. Like I'm good. Like
that's the only
I'm
thing
good.
I want to mention now. Like, I don't want to be sitting here waiting on him. And oh, that's what it was. Okay, now that we're talking, it makes sense now. Okay, when I looked into like the careers and all this stuff, because again, in my astrology chart, it talks about all of this, and it feels like a slap in the face. But like trying to have a certain status or a certain how do you say trying to have a certain status or a certain type of job or a certain type of interest so that your dad will be kind of happy about that shit. And it just because he didn't want you to, he wanted you to do something, but it's not what you wanted to do. So after a while, you kind of venture out from that, but you still stay in the same lane.
Hmm.
And it made so much sense to me because for a long time I was trying to do something that was along the lines of what he wanted or what he expected. And he would always tell me like, "You're so weird," like, and it used to hurt my feelings so bad. Like being weird as a kid was one of the most hurtful things that he could have said. But now, as an adult, I'm cool with being the weird adult. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
it's like I don't want to be average or basic or common.
Right. I want to always be something different. Somebody had told me that they was like, "Oh, you unusual." And I had told them, I said, "Well, how would you notice me if I didn't stand out?" Like
I mean, you see everybody else doing the same thing. I mean, after a while, you kind of
yeah.
want something different, something weird, something unorthodox, something
Hey,
unconventional. Am I right?
baby, I tell people all the time I'm a creature of the deep, for sure, for sure. Like,
And because if you ain't ready,
uh,
please don't come here.
huh?
I said, because if you're not ready, please don't come here.
Yeah, even if you ain't ready, you better be prepared for what's gonna come.
Because then they're
Like,
gonna be
it's gonna
disappointed.
scare you regardless.
You're
Like,
gonna be scared, man. It's
yeah.
definitely an experience.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why listen, that's why it's called the immersive experience. Cause I mean, you gotta immerse yourself in some experiences to get
Ooh,
an
fuck man, shit.
understanding on it.
I'm
So,
about to knock my computer over. I was in agreement so hard.
but I do appreciate you for coming on and talking with us. If you wanna say some final words to the people, just talk to them real quick.
Okay, so the way that I started to heal my father wound was, of course, by accepting that first of all I had it. Making it known. Um, I started looking back, taking some notes, doing some reflection. So I do a lot of introspection, and they helped me out a whole lot. I also learned to look at his absence as a lesson and not necessarily as a punishment. So once I kind of shifted that mindset from punishment to lesson, it actually started to make a lot more sense. It actually made it easier for me to, kind of cut the cord. And I think that we still have that, invisible umbilical cord with our parents, but it definitely made it easier for me to start doing so. A lot of introspection, through journaling, meditating, knowing that we don't have any contact, you know what I'm saying? So they kind of,
Yeah.
all of those things made it easier for me to start, moving past wanting him to be around. I was starting to just not want him to be, you know what I'm saying, not want to be in his presence, or, not really avoiding, because I knew that I was growing, or that I was getting better once I could be in the same space as him. Like if we were at my brother's house or something, like he showed up, I knew that it was time for me to start leaving. All right, I see y'all later. I didn't never treat him ugly or anything, but I definitely wasn't trying to, you know what I'm saying, make it where he could come and speak to me, because I don't want that. I don't want to be around, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely try to stay away. But that mindset shift was the greatest thing that happened. Instead of looking at it as a punishment or as a loss, I looked at it as a lesson,
Right.
because I've definitely grown through my partner. And, they say, people that you're in a relationship with, or people that you're surrounded by, are like mirrors of you. I've learned the most about myself through my current partner. And my dad hates it. He
Mhm.
can't stand it. He always be like, "Ain't nobody talking about your man. I'm talking about me and you, how we supposed to be." And I was like, "Well, dude, you missed it 32 years ago when I was a baby. You didn't want to be around, and you still don't want to be around." So yeah, if you got a father wound, acknowledge it, accept it, and start working on it. Inner child
Yeah.
work, shadow work,
Mhm.
whatever you need for soul care, self care, do it. And don't allow for that father wound to control you. You can change the narrative at any point in time, and you can shift it to be in your
Yeah.
favor.
Mhm.
So those are my
Yeah.
final words for the people.
Well, thank you so much, Chills. I appreciate you so much. I didn't. I was like, I don't know where it's gonna go. I'm gonna let her take the lead.
I actually like this. It wasn't too guided, it wasn't too free flowing, and I'm gonna tell you what I like about it. I like the fact that you kind of guided this song, because I guide the conversations, and what the people like to hear. But I also know that I like to talk a lot, so I get off track real fast and be talking about a whole other thing, and I ain't got my point across yet. So I actually like this. It was balanced. I like it.
That's what's up. Well, you're more than welcome to stop by anytime. I adore guests. I love perception, perspective, all of those different things. I love learning. So if you can
Most
educate me on something,
definitely. I'll definitely be back. Just let me know you
yeah.
got some openings and what we're gonna discuss, and I come on, and hopefully I won't be feeling bad, so I can actually show my face, because I don't know if it matches my voice or not, but I don't think so. But it's
Well, who
mesmerizing, so they
knows?
got to hear my voice. I mean, it sounded a little credit today, but it's normally smooth like butter.
I know that's right. Well, Chels, don't forget to post your tags, your handles, and stuff like that, so they can follow you. She is the voice of the voiceless, you guys. As you can see, she's sitting here telling you to accept the wounds that you have, how to heal them, how to observe them, how to see the pattern of exactly what you're going through. I do appreciate you so much
Yes, ma'am.
for
I appreciate you for
tuning
having
in.
me on.
No problem. Well, thank you guys for tuning into the immersive experience. We'll see you next Sunday at 7 p.m. CST. And we look forward to talking to you all again then. All right. Have a good night.